Hello, hello! Pete's Packs here, and we've got a very special From the Vault today. This is From the Vault 20. This was released in 2013, which was also the same year that I got married. In fact, today is my 10th anniversary, my partner. So, Kayla, if you see this, happy anniversary. Love you, and I hope to spend, well, at the very least another 10 years, but as many anniversaries as we can get together. So, that being said, let's get started. Now, this has many great cards throughout the first 20 years of Magic's history, and we're going to see what all's in here. Now, 20 proven champions is the tagline of this, and if I remember correctly, this has one card for each year of Magic. So, kind of like the Magic 30 special release, but for 20. So there's a poster in here that goes over each of the 20 cards that are included, including a special version of Jace the Mind Sculptor on the back. Has more. So, yeah. Also has several exclusive arts. There. Get into page 20. Also, funny enough, I know this isn't what it actually means, but it is the type of plastic, but it has peat in it. I've always gotten a kick out of that since I was a little kid. Alright, so we have this beautiful Magic 20 die. It's orange and glitter. If you can see the glitter or not. There we go. Alright. Go ahead and open our first pack. So in our first one, we have Jace the Mind Sculptor. This is the only version with this foiling. Green Sun Zenith. So good banned in Modern. And one of the core value engines for several legacy green decks. Kessig Wolf Run. The namesake card of, at the time, one of the most powerful decks in Standard. Dark Ritual, for the same cycle as Ancestral Recall, and Lightning Bolt, one of the most iconic black cards ever printed. Swords to Plowshares, arguably the best piece of removal ever printed. And at the time, this was the only way to get this art. Chainer's Edict, a Pauper staple that still sees significant play in pretty much every black Pauper deck. Right. Now for the second pack. If I remember correctly, all of the cards in this set still see quite a bit of play, which is a testament to how great these cards are. 10 years later, they're still seeing competitive play. Come to Tornok? Or Torark? I was just called it Tornok. So I think it's Torok. to Torok. One of the best discard spells ever printed. Fyndhorn Elves, a functional reprint of Llanowar Elves from Ice Age, if I remember correctly. Still one of the best mana dorks ever printed. Still sees a bit of play in Pauper and a few other formats. Impulse, one of the best digging spells ever printed, has been reprinted into Standard a few times in the last couple of years. Still very strong. Wall of Blossoms still shows up in a few different combo decks and is pretty popular in Commander. Had a shifted reprint at one point with Wall of Omens, which was also our functional reprint into white with Wall of Omens. Still played as well, and shows up in Vintage Cube every now and then. Thran Dynamo, speaking of Vintage Cube, one of the core parts of Vintage Cube, and occasionally shows up in Commander. Tangle Wire, one of my favorite stacks pieces of all time, still sees considerable play in Vintage and various stacks decks. Occasionally shows up in Legacy in both red and white stacks. Just fantastic hate card across the board. Fact or Fiction, still solid all these years later. If I remember correctly, it is banned in Pauper, but still occasionally sees play in Legacy and Vintage, and is a Vintage Cube All-Star. The old saying, FOF, EOT, FTW, pretty valid. Fact or Fiction, end of turn for the win. We have our third pack. Of Akroma's Vengeance, still one of the best removal spells, or one of the best board wipes for Commander and its cycles. This one is, oddly enough, slightly miscut, skewed over to the right. It's like all of these are. Interesting. But until Farewell was printed, this was far and away the best board sweep in Commander, although has been largely replaced by Farewell, which was just this past year. We have Gilded Lotus, still occasionally used in Twiddle decks, though occasionally, well, not occasionally, it does largely get replaced by Lotus Field now. Still very strong. Inkai's Servant of Oni, a fan favorite, originally from Betrayers of Kamigawa. And just a fantastic card across the board. It's a reanimate on stick that can regenerate itself. Char, a functional reprint of Sonic Blast. Saw quite a bit of play in Standard. Still occasionally sees play in like Pauper Cube and Legacy Mono Red Burn. Or not Pauper Cube, but Vintage Cube. Venser Shaper Savant with its first variant art. This was the first time it was ever done for this card. Still sees play in Vintage Cube, still occasionally sees play in Modern and Legacy Twin variations, though those aren't terribly common at the moment. Chameleon Colossus, an absolute beast in Standard when this was printed. still sees play every now and then in legacy cubes and modern cubes. And sometimes it'll show up in a sideboard in modern. And Cruel Ultimatum, which was the center point of Cruel Control a little bit over 10 years ago now, so about when this was printed, and still considered one of the best ultimatums ever printed. Back in, I believe it was either Shards of Alara or Alara Reborn. I can't remember which one it was in. I believe it was Shards of Alara. All right, that's Magic 20, or from the Vault 20. The just 20 amazing cards from 20 amazing years. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me on this adventure. As always, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you get to this point, leave a message down in the comments saying, hey, happy anniversary. I'm sure my partner will be delighted by those messages. So, until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.